So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe? What do you mean by believe?
Peterson is often laughed at for debating more semantics rather than actual ideology. But in this case, I think people jump the gun on attacking this point. And here's why I say that. What do you mean by believe? It's actually a deeper debate than it initially seems. He's not talking about the word belief, which we might have an intuitive understanding of.
Do you think it to be true?
He's asking a deeper question on how do you know what is your belief? How should I know what I truly believe? Initially, it might seem simple, but if you crack your skull open, you're not going to find a well-collated list of documents that describe exactly what you believe about everything you interact with on a day-to-day basis. There's two reasons that memory is entirely useless in discerning the truths of our beliefs. Firstly, when we create a memory, it's stored in multiple parts of our brains. It's not just some sequence of neurons in our temporal lobe. Each memory interacts with multiple parts of the brain simultaneously. And so, when we reconstruct those memories, that can misconstrue and contort the rest of the fragments to create a memory that is fitted exactly to the situation it was recalled for. And while this was great for survival while we were evolving, it's not useful for epistemology. Our memories change each and every time we recover them. And so some people will say that we have a basal set of axioms and principles, and that a belief is just a new statement that is consistent with each of the axioms we've already established. And due to just the innate biases and emotional reasoning of the human species, this is just absolutely impossible. Even if you could find some set of basic principles, it's likely that they would already be in contradiction with one another. And so when humans try to introduce beliefs into their system, they don't introduce it in a logical way. It's always going to be emotions first, and then logic to post-rationalize the answer that their emotions came to. A classic example of this is the idea of a healthy smoker. Because there are tons of people who hold three beliefs simultaneously. That they want to live a long and happy life, and healthy life. That they believe smoking is bad for them. Yet nonetheless, they are still smokers. And this isn't just for addictions. There's a contradiction in almost anything that humans do. And we've just learned to live with that cognitive dissonance. So Jordan Peterson is asking, how do we find evidence that can help us be certain of what we actually believe?
All right. So if
What's
you
a
believe
belief?
something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it. That's what I mean by that. It isn't something that you say. It isn't something that's associated with logical consistency. It's not declarative. It's not propositional. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's the presupposition of your attention and your action. And you're either fragmented, in which case you worship multiple gods, or there's some unity at the bottom of it that makes you an unstoppable force.
Any moral statement that I make to you can obviously be dishonest. And they discuss this later, like, would you lie for a belief that you hold?
If someone threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life.
But regardless, lying doesn't actually change the belief that you hold inside your head. Where this becomes a problem is that we don't just have the ability to lie to other people. We tell lies to ourselves. We hold beliefs that don't make sense with our stated principles. And so even things that we appear to deeply believe are not trustworthy evidence for what our actual beliefs are. And so Jordan asserts that the only way to know what you actually believe is to examine whether you act on that belief when your life is on the line. A scenario where your actions are never going to be dishonest. For example, if you were dying of thirst in the desert and I gave you a glass of water, if you don't drink this water, you'll die. But maybe you believe that it's poison and you should look for water elsewhere. Peterson believes that, by definition, you drinking that water evinces your belief that the water will improve your health. And contrarily, if you refuse to drink the water, this, by definition, evinces the belief that the water is poisoned or unhealthy for you. And I think this is a reasonable definition. I think this is the only consistent way to define something that we truly believe. This is what he means when he says, stake your life. When your life is on the line, you're much more likely to be honest to yourself and in your actions. So we can trust the beliefs that we see in your actions in those cases. So in conclusion, the belief that Jordan holds is that no matter what I state about my belief, the only truth comes from observing my actions when I cannot be dishonest. And I have to stop here because as this clip plays, they go into a very large tangent about sin and Nazi Germany that, as of this point that he stated, I don't think he said anything wrong or even unusual here. I think this is how we should consistently define what we actually believe.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic and you're trying to protect them, would you?
By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany, reason?
I just told you why.
Are you anti-fascist? Do you think it to be true?